Mariana, we cannot hear you. You are on mute.
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning. Welcome to our webinar on the opportunities in the environmental sector in Serbia. Thank you all for taking time and being with us today. I'm Marijana Milošević-Tufekđić, Economic and Trade Counselor at hub.brussels office in Belgrade. And today we have a great opportunity to welcome very interesting speakers and presenters that will share their insights on the environmental sector in Serbia. They will give an overview of the sector, speak about its needs and capacities, main direction and strategies the sector will follow in the coming years, as well as about various business opportunities the sector is offering. After the presentations, we will have some time to answer your questions, so please feel free to pose questions to our speakers via the chat. After becoming EU candidate country in 2012, Serbia started membership negotiations in 2014, and Chapter 27, covering environmental issues, is one of the most comprehensive and perhaps one of the most difficult chapters in the membership process. It covers different areas from air quality, waste management, water quality, nature protection, industrial pollution control, and many others. According to the new EU methodology, Chapter 27 is classified in Cluster 4, the Green Agenda and Sustainable Connectivity. What is very interesting is that today at the Intergovernmental Conference, Serbia is expected to officially open Cluster 4 in the negotiations on joining the European Union. This is, of course, very good news, especially since there had been a stallment in the negotiations in the previous 2 years and no new chapters were opened. But of course, just opening a cluster does not mean the job is finished. Opening a cluster and the chapter is followed by a period of application of EU legislations in the country and by monitoring this application by EU and the member states. Finally, the goal is really to close the cluster. In order to reach EU standards in this sector, Serbia is planning important investments in the next period. Different estimations say from 8, even up to 10 or 15 billion euros. Of course, the EU provides substantial support to Serbia towards achieving its environmental goals. And what is also very important, Serbian government is dedicated to constantly improve the situation in this sector and to achieve EU standards. Some of the main goals in the area of environmental protections are the establishment of wastewater treatment plants in all major cities, establishing a new solid waste disposal system, fight against air pollution and climate change. As I mentioned, today we have with us several speakers that will help us better understand the current state of play in the environmental sector in Serbia, as well as different opportunities that lie ahead. So we have with us today His Excellency Mr. Koen, Ambassador of Belgium to Serbia, Mrs.Ivana Hadzi Stosic, State Secretary at the Ministry of Environmental Protection of Serbia, Mrs. Sandra Dokic, Assistant Minister at the Ministry of Environmental Protection, Mr. Miodrag Glušević, Program Director for Urban Development, Environment and Communal Services at the Standing Conference of Cities and Municipalities, and Mr. Sasha Velkovic, Director of Poliaxis Utilities, Serbia. Without any further delay, please welcome our first speaker today, His Excellency Mr. Koen. So, Ambassador, the floor or the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mariana. Dear Mrs. Hadzi Stosic, State Secretary of the Ministry of Environmental Protection, dear Madam Assistant Minister Dokic, Mr. Glušević, participating companies, Goedemorgen, bonjour. I would first of all like to thank Mrs. Milošević and the Brussels Trade Office for having brought us together this morning for this webinar. Thanks a lot, of course, also to you, Madam State Secretary, and Mr. Glušević and Madam Dokic for having accepted the invitation to share with us your views on this important green agenda. It would have been better to be able to meet in real life and not virtual, but let's take this meeting as a launching pad for the process that will bring many Belgian companies to Serbia and explore on the ground the many business opportunities. It has been said already, the timing of this webinar couldn't have been better. Literally on this very moment in Brussels, the so-called Intergovernmental Conference, IGC, between the EU and Serbia comes to an end, during which the EU has offered Serbia the opening of the so-called Cluster 4 of the negotiation package. In this IGC, the Serbian Prime Minister Brnabić participated alongside the Belgian Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sophie Wilmès. Their presence marks the importance of the meeting and the decision taken. Cluster 4 is within the new accession negotiation methodology, the one that deals with energy, trans-European networks, environment, and climate change. It is, in other words, the broad field of topics that tackle day-to-day concerns of ordinary Serbian citizens, as well as the companies, Serbian and foreign, established on the Serbian soil. The opening of this cluster and the underlying negotiation chapters is part of a more comprehensive collaboration between Serbian authorities and the European Union to advance further towards the meeting of the policy benchmarks in these and other fields that should bring Serbia closer to becoming an EU member state. After a period of relative standstill in the negotiations, today's decision should lead to a certain acceleration, and more importantly, to real and palpable changes on the ground. This should meet the expectations set by what has always been considered as the transformative nature of the EU accession talks. Clean water, clean air, renewable and affordable energy, energy efficiency, circular economy focused on a sustainable use of the scarce resources. These are concrete steps the Serbian citizens and companies will recognize as real added value of the reform process Serbia is engaged in. Why is today's decision so important for our companies as well? First and foremost, because it has to be considered as a trust and confidence building measure. Europe has given the signal that it considers Serbia as a credible partner to advance in these crucial areas of cooperation. It will open up the access to important financial means, most of which are already embedded in the European Economic and Investment Plan for the Balkans, agreed upon last year with an accompanying investment package of 9 billion euro. The plan aims to spur the long-term economic recovery of the region, support the green and digital transition, and foster regional integration and convergence with the EU. Serbia and the Western Balkan will become part of the European Green Deal that offers a blueprint for joint EU action to tackle the challenges of green transition, climate change, biodiversity loss, excessive use of resources and pollution, decoupling of economic growth from resource use, and environmental degradation. This Green Deal has to be translated into the West Balkan reality to a green agenda with relevant actions and recommendations, including the alignment with the EU standards and the acquis. Let there be no misunderstanding. Today's decision may be a milestone in the EU-Serbia negotiations, but more than this, it has to be looked upon as a stepping stone, a first step on a long road ahead. The challenges in the environment sector are daunting in all the areas that I've mentioned above. And you will hear them today mentioned as well by our Serbian friends. Let me quickly touch upon three of those challenges of a more broader political nature. Firstly, financial support may be available either through bilateral or multilateral channels, but this will also require necessary administrative and human capacity at central and local level to identify, launch, and manage environment-related projects. I would like to underline in this respect the importance of the local level, or local self-government as they call it in Serbia, where real change and impact will be felt. Secondly, the rolling out of the Green Agenda will require the adoption and implementation of adequate legislative framework. In this respect, I can say that there has been tremendous progress over the last year, with big efforts to align the laws not only with what the EU requires, but also to make the business framework more transparent and predictable for companies, local or foreign, that want to work here. I refer, amongst others, to the laws on mining, renewable energy, energy efficiency, and others that are still in the making. It will be important to assure the complete and correct implementation of those specific laws, as well as the EU-compatible legislation in the area of public procurement. Rolling out the Green Agenda in Serbia will become, for the government, an excellent policy area to demonstrate its capacity and its will to roll out the rule of law agenda and create the business climate that attracts even more foreign investment than it does today. A third and final point, Green Agenda needs to be carried out by the government and society at large. People here are, like everywhere else in the world, concerned about the potential environmental impact of economic-driven policy decisions and vice versa, the socio-economic impact of inevitable environmental-driven decisions that may have substantial consequences on employment, for instance, or the cost of living. I believe there is a shared responsibility of government, companies, and civil society not only to do the right thing, but also to engage with the population and explain why some measures are taken. Against these backgrounds, and turning to our Belgian companies, it's obvious that there are tremendous opportunities to play a substantial role in helping Serbia advance on its green path. Today's webinar will give you a first glimpse of Serbia's needs, and there are many. You will notice that those needs more than often match the world-class level know-how, experience, skills, and talents of your Belgian companies in areas of energy efficiency, renewable energy, solid and wastewater treatment, or circular economy. I would really like to encourage you to come to Serbia and share this experience that is built on the European standards this country needs to adopt on its road to the EU. The Embassy and the Economic and Trade Office will always be at your disposal to help you establish the necessary contacts. I'm looking forward to welcoming you soon. I wish you a very interesting webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Our next speaker will be Mrs.Ivana Hadzi, State Secretary at the Ministry of Environment. Mrs. State Secretary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mariana. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, Mr. Koen, webinar participants, good morning. I'm honored to address an online gathering dedicated to a very important topic for all of us: environmental protection and green projects aimed at improving the quality of life for all citizens. Since Minister Irena Vujovic took over the Ministry of Environmental Protection, the work was focused on three priorities, namely combating air pollution, the construction of wastewater treatment plants, and the construction of regional recycle centers. Problems with excessive air pollution during the heating season exist in Serbia, but this is the first time the state has a clear work strategy for solving this decades-long problem. This is a difficult common struggle that cannot be overcome overnight and calls for our unity. For the first time, the ministry published open tenders for the replacement of boilers in legal entities and furnaces in household, with the aim to make a switch to more environmentally friendly energy sources. Open tenders were published in more than 50 local governments aimed at improving air quality in Serbia. 200 million euros from the Council of Europe Development Bank will be invested in the construction of wastewater treatment plants in 26 local governments, including collectors and sewage network, which will significantly improve environmental protection. The waste management system will be improved with the construction of 8 regional waste management and disposal centers, as well as with the construction of transfer stations and facilities for waste collection, separation, recycling, treatment, and disposal in the planned 8 regional centers, serving more than 50 local self-governments. The funds are provided from the EBRD and the French Development Agency. And for the end, next year, a record high funds will be allocated from the budget for environmental protection, which will boost our efforts to work fast and be more expedient. As we are building roads and reviving factories that have been neglected for decades, we will build green infrastructure in the coming years. And it is our pledge to make life better for future generations. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, thank you, Mrs. State Secretary, for this very nice message. And our first presenter today is Mrs. Sandra Dokic, Assistant Minister in the Ministry of Environmental Protection. So, Mrs. Dokic, please.
Hello to everyone. Now I will share my presentation, and I want to be sure that you can see it. Yes.
Yes, everything is.
Okay, thank you very much. Your Excellency, State Secretary, Mr. Glashevich, dear colleagues, I'm really honored to present here everything what our ministry has done in a period, in a recent period, and what is our plan in a period ahead of us. So I will start with our environmental protection sector. Everything what is included in Chapter 27 is the horizontal legislation, waste management, air quality, water quality, nature protection, industrial pollution, risk management, chemicals, climate change, noise, and civil protection. Because this is really demanding and it covers a lot of institutions which need to be involved and participate in these environmental protection projects. I will just give you a list with all institutions who are in charge to do something. Of course, the Ministry of Environmental Protection, Serbian Environmental Protection Agency, also Institute for Nature Conservation of Serbia. Also, I want to stress it out that the very important role for us as the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Water Management with Water Directorate and Forestry Directorate. Also, at the sense of the climate change activities and industrial pollution, we also have a really good cooperation with Ministry of Mining and Energy, and also everything what is related with infrastructural projects and utility service. It's in charge Ministry of Construction, Transport and Infrastructure. That means that one part of infrastructure green project is at the moment in implementation with Ministry of Construction. Also, Ministry of Interior is in charge of civil protection, and we have the really active role with Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Based on this, you can see how the environmental protection is demanding and how many line ministries and institutions need to be in a good cooperation in order to achieve some good results. I don't want to repeat everything what our State Secretary already mentioned. Just to tell that, share with you information that we are really dedicated to solve the air quality issue we are facing with so many years. Not only this one, and particularly we have the very important project in Kragujevac. We want to switch the heating plan, so that is the EBRD loan, 18 million, and for us is really important that for the next heating seasons the air quality in Kragujevac will be much better. Also, as it was mentioned, the afforestation, the changing the boilers, etc. Also is wastewater management. I don't want to repeat everything what we are working on. I just want to mention that construction a wastewater treatment plan with the CEB loan. The implementation agency is PIMO, Public Investment Management Office. That is implementation unit, and everything what is in accordance with this agreement, we will apply law on public procurements of the Republic of Serbia. Also, we have some projects we are funded by IPA. So on this project we'll apply the Prague procedure and FIDIC rules. Regarding solid waste management, beside the regional waste management centers, I just want to share that we also want to introduce the primary waste separation, and we already have some IPA project on this regard. Also, the activities for this budget year and the next one will be the purchase of vehicles and waste containers and bins for waste collection and transport. Also, we will continue to cleaning dump sites, clean up unsanitary landfills, and also closure and reclamation of unsanitary landfills. And what is something what we are planning to do in the next 3 years is to clean all historical waste. Also, beside that, we have a lot of activities related with soil remediation, protection against the erosion, prevention on landslides, etc. Now I just want to mention one really important document we already developed, but we will adopt it in the next 1 month. That is Multi-Annual Investment and Financial Plan, or MIF as we call it. So that is a really important tool for us in investment planning, and all MIF is based on the SIPs. The SIPs means the Directive Specific Implementation Plans. That is the kind of the document which actually refers everything what is written in an EU regulation, and based on this, the SIPs, we can see what Serbia need to done in some certain environmental area, what is the time we can achieve it, how much money we need to provide, what can be the source to find us all this, and that is actually the part of our negotiation position. In this first MIF1, we include infrastructural project for solid waste management and water management, drinking water, wastewater, and solid waste. And now we are in a process of updating this MIF1 and to develop the MIF2, which is in a drafted version, and it will include also the air quality, industrial pollution, chemicals, etc. So why the MIF is important? Because MIF includes cost estimation for preparation, construction, monitoring or control, contingencies, and institutional support. And also in MIF, we have listed infrastructural and also soft projects. For this MIF1, we have identified for the period 2019 to 2044 that we in a total need to invest 7.5 billion. And that is somehow divided on, for example, drinking water 1.5 billion, wastewater management 4.2 billion, waste management 1.2 billion, and sludge management 500 billion. So that is something what is in a MIF1, but we have adopted, we will adopt this MIF2, and I think the figure will be much bigger because it's going to include the rest of area I have just shared with you. So how we will finance all these activities and projects? Of course, first what we do is to use the EU funds, that is free accession funds for us. So at this moment we have the IPA 2 and IPA 3. IPA 3 is actually in a programming for 2021 and 22, and it's currently in a progress, and we have already nominated some projects. Also, beside that, we have the Western Balkan Investment Framework, WWIF, which include e-grants and different loans from development banks, AEB, BRD, KfW, etc. Also, we rely on bilateral donations, and the really important role for us is the Sweden, also Japan, Germany, etc. And we will finance also the project through national budget. We are talking about state budget, budget of provinces, and local budget. And of course, bilateral and commercial loans. Why that's important? It's important because the source of funding determines the procurement procedure. So when we are when we want to procure something, it's necessary to know that we usually have three types of contracts. That is the service contract, that is the services of supervision, also technical assistance, etc. Then supply contract and the works contract. And the rules pertaining to procurement procedure, how that is divided. For EU funds, we use the Prague procedure and FIDIC rules, and also for the development banks, it's more or less the rule similar to Prague procedure, and also it can be applied in Serbian law on public procurement. And when we want to finance project from national budget is usually it's actually always in accordance with the law on public procurements of the Republic of Serbia. Because I realized that is something that you actually ask from our side to present you the rules and the procedures. I will try to briefly go through some Prague procedure, FIDIC procedure, and also law on public procurement, because I think that is you showed the main interest in these topics. Also for all these procedures, we have our legislative framework, and that is law on public procurement, law on contracts and torts, law on planning and constructions, and especially some articles who are related with drafted the required documents. Also EU directives, Prague, that is the practical guide to contract procedure for EU external actions, and FIDIC, that is general terms and conditions. Regarding law on planning and construction, that law applies regardless to this finding source. That actually means that if we want to finance some project from IPA and WIF funding, that implies that previously we need to have some screening study, then feasibility study, and this feasibility study need to be approved by JASPERS. And then we will apply, we will use our law on planning and construction for the purpose of obtaining or issuing building permits. So that is important to know, because it means that when we finish the feasibility study, and if we do not have feasibility study approved by JASPERS, we cannot apply on these sources, IPA and WIF. Also, when we want to finance through a national budget, it's also apply the law on planning and construction, and also require the aforementioned feasibility study, but it's not the same feasibility study, it's a difference, and it needs to be adjusted with the law on planning and construction. So here is a timeline for IPA. Here you can see how many years we need to develop some documentation, then to tendering, and then to start with the implementation of work, services, and goods. So I just wanted to share this screen with you, because I think it's important to know how many years we need for some infrastructural project, and there is a lot which needs to be we need in Serbia infrastructural projects. So we really need the time for that. Also in this slide you can see how these all activities look like. So when we are doing feasibility study and approved by JASPERS, etc., we usually have some kind of support. On this slide you can see ASP2, that is a project finance from Sweden, and they usually help us to prepare all this documentation before we start to tendering and implementation, and that is the support we really rely on, and that is something what will be our need and for the period ahead of us. Also, when we prepared the project, at this side you can see that we use the PPF. Also the PAID, that is the project also financed through Sweden, and the different also entities can have this kind of support for us. And after that, we start with the implementation of project. That is depend, do we use the yellow FIDIC book or red FIDIC book? And I will shortly also explain you the differences. So about feasibility study, that is something what I mentioned is the feasibility study according to US standards. It's not the same as the feasibility study in accordance with our Serbian law. And why the feasibility study is important? Because through them we can identify the scope of the project, assess project sustainability. That is important to see the institutional, technical, financial, and environmental aspects. Also, this feasibility study need to achieve compliance with EU directive and also with the Serbian laws, and sometimes that is not so easy to provide. And also that feasibility study has the cost-benefit analysis, what is really important because the public utility company can have the all financial aspects of this wastewater treatment plant on whatever we build. So in a screen, I think that it's not easy to read it, but is the project documentation overview. So you can see how many, almost 7 and more years sometimes we need to start preparing documentation and to finish with that infrastructural project. So it's a really long period. What mean by JASPERS? That means that for this essential environmental project, we need to have positive opinion from JASPERS because they actually, when we submit this feasibility study to them, they really can and usually give us the lot of comments. They insisted on some correction, etc., etc. So the JASPERS are really important. It has really important role in all this development of technical and the rest of documentation, and we cannot skim them at all. And JASPERS can, their intervention can take place at any stage of the project, and it's usually in feasibility, sometimes pre-feasibility study if we need pre-feasibility study, but also during the preparation of tender documents. So a feasibility study is mandatory at EU level for IPA and other findings. So when we're talking about public procurement in accordance with FIDIC and Prague rules, I think that I just want to mention that we are preparing the tender documentation in accordance with the EU procurement directives. Also, Prague, that means procedures, and that is the guidelines for the implementation, EU directives and regulations. What is important that we need to have open and competitive dialogue procedures. And we will use the FIDIC as a general terms and conditions. That means that for one public procurement, we will use the Prague rules for procedure and FIDIC for contract. To not bother you too much with these Prague rules, I just want to tell you that this Prague is similar is the similar approach to the most standard procedure with the development bank. And what is important, that tender needs to be open, that the bidders needs to be eligible for this tender, and we have some requirements in a Prague rules related with origins and material and equipment. Of course, these Prague rules also can ban some companies to participate on some tender, but that is always related if that companies has some activities related with fraud, corruptions, money laundering, child labor, etc., etc. what is normal, and also it also prescribes some administrative and financial sections, also related with fraud, corruptions, with violation of work rules, etc. What we actually in these Prague procedures from Serbia legislation also apply. As I mentioned, law on contract enforce and resolving contractual disputes also, and we have some specified articles. I don't want to read it now from law on planning and construction. So it means that with Prague procedures we have also our legislation which need to be in place. What mean the FIDI contract rules? That is something what I mentioned. We have two books we usually use, is the red one and the yellow book. The red book, it's important difference between red and yellow books. That if you want to use red book for contract, that means that construction permit project must be completed and construction permit must be provided for tendering. So this process needs to be finished. And also the construction project must be available for construction works. And the contractor must be responsible for the construction project in which equipment is used. So that is important because with the red book we can much faster finish the whole tender procedure and implementation, and we can start to work immediately on constructions. But when we're talking about yellow book, that means that to use the yellow book in this procedure, that means that conceptual design must be completed. And also after that, we need to provide positive opinion of the audit commission on this conceptual design. So the contractor must prepare, it's not the same as in a previous case, he needs to prepare the project for the construction permit in line with the equipment which will be provided. And also the investor must apply for a construction permit. This means that he needs more time to prepare documentation and then to start constructions. About tender documents, we have three parts. It's something related with tender procedure, is the invitation. In that invitation we have the rules, procedures, and everything, and how we will evaluate the bids. Also the terms of the contract and the technical specification or requirements of the investor. And in a FIDI model forms, we have 5 parts: general and special condition, investor requirements, quantity schedule, and design. What is also important to be mentioned, yes, that we have a consultant for tender dossier preparation, and they help us to prepare draft tender documents. And also prepares accompanying projects in accordance with the terms and of the contract. So this means, as I mentioned, the red book tender documents include the location conditions, construction permit design, and executive design. And the yellow book FIDIC include location conditions, conceptual design. So it's important to know that all projects should be prepared also with Serbian legislation, and the project developers must own appropriate license. That is something what is necessary to mention, and also they will usually sign the confidentiality statement. When you're talking about documentation which need to be provided in accordance with the law on planning and construction, location information is not obliged to be provided, but it's good for investor if he cannot obtain to interpret the planning documents. Then location information can be really useful for him, but it's not obligation to be provided as a document. But the location conditions requires for all environmental projects. But precondition for this is to have prepared preliminary concept. And that preliminary concept needs to be submitted with the location conditions. So in these location conditions, we can see it needs to be prepared in accordance with the rule book. In this condition, we can see all urban planning, technical and other conditions in order to prepare conceptual design, construction permit design, and executive design. And it's important to know that validity period of this location condition is 2 years. So if in these conditions we see that some infrastructure is missing, that is something what need to be specified under these location conditions, and also it must be built before connecting the facility to the infrastructure system, and that's why this document is important for us. Also, I just want to mention that we have some institutions who are participating in each project. That is Authority or CFCU, also the line ministry, in this case Ministry of Environmental Protection, and that is the final beneficiary. Also, we have local self-government, particularly public utility companies who will be end recipients. And also we have the role of European Union delegation. And they have the rule that, because the CFCU submits the tender document to the delegation for an ex-ante review and their approval. And after this procedure is finished, we can launch the tender. Also, I wanted to just to mention who can be an investor in accordance with our law. That is the owner of facility according to Serbian legislation, and in IPA funds it's a end user, but not the contracting party. And it's important with the end user to sign end user agreement where we can see all responsibility, etc. And now I will just try to be quick and to mention something about law on public procurement of the Republic of Serbia. Usually with this infrastructural project, we are using open procedure. That means that for the infrastructural project works, if the procurement is equal or exceed 5 million euro, that means that 35 days we need for time limits for submission of bids. 35 days is more than 1 month. Also, if the procurement is less than 5 million, its procedure time limits to submit the bids is 25 days. And that is the usual for infrastructural project is usually 35 days to prepare everything and documents and to submit. Also, what mean tender documents, we have definition here. I just want to do not want to read it. But what is important to know that in our tender documents, we can insist and on some security instruments. That means that they need to be also submitted, and these security instruments can be in order to confirm the seriousness of the bid, fulfillment of contractual obligation, also for rectifying defect within the warranty period, also for warranting the rectification of damages which might occur in connection with the performance of the specific activity, and security instrument in order to refund of advance payment. That is something what can be, let's say, what something is demanding and needs time. So the contracting authority usually choose which one of the security instruments need to be submitted. The tender documents are published on the public procurement portal always, and on the website of contracting authority, in this case Ministry of Environmental Protection. And here is also the link for public procurement portal. During the time limit for submission of tender, the tender documents can be changed or supplements, and also it's some deadlines when we can change the supplements, or the change or supplemented tender. And sometimes when we do the changes, we need to extend the time limit to submit the bid, but sometimes the contracting authority can see that it's not necessary to accept to change, and there is no obligation to extend the time limit. Also, everything what the economic operator once they can do through it the public procurement portal, and that's why that is the public procurement portal is everything. It has its important role in this our system. Also, we have some deadlines where we can in what period we can extend these time limits. If they want some additional information or clarification, it's usually related with the public procurement. Is this exceeded 5 billion? In that case, it's 8 days. They can submit or request something, or it is 6 days. So when they contracting authority publish everything, additional information and clarification also on public procurement. So what is important to mention about technical specification, that technical specifications afford equal access to all economic operator. But also the sum of them can be excluded. We are also facing with the situation of some criminal offense of in a period of the previous 5 years, and if the sum of them has some issue with taxes and compulsory insurance, etc. What is more or less similar with like European integration, like European legislation. Also, we have some criteria for selection. But what is important, that economic operator must have the required level of capacity that will ensure that is capable of performing this procurement contract, and that is accordingly logically related and proportionate to subject matter of the procurement. And the way how they can fulfill of conditions to pursue to professional activities, they can provide some excerpt form a court registry or some professional registration in another appropriate register. And also some permits can be issued by the competent authority, or some kind of certificate of membership in particular organization, and that can be all issued in a country where the economic operator is established. That is also important. Also, economic and financial capacity can be proved by appropriate bank statement or financial statement of extras from financial statements, if the publication of financial statements is mandatory, of course. A statement of the total income of the economic operator. And how they can prove technical or professional capacities. For example, they can list of works performed over a period of maximum 5 years. Also list of deliveries of relevant supplier services, but the maximum period, the last 3 years. Some information about technicians or technical bodies, also education and professional qualification of the service provider or contractor, and also can be also important to indicate the environmental protection management measures that the economic operator will be able to apply when performing the contract. Also different kind of statements. So here is a lot of things I try to put on a screen, but I think that it's not, I think that I need to manage my time here. So I will just also mention that the economic operators can prove some criteria using the capacities of members of the group. That is important, and all members of the group of economic operators belonging to the same group are jointly and severally liable for the execution of the public procurement contract. And also, the economic operator may entrust the subcontractor. So the most economically advantageous tender, what is the eligibility criteria, is the prices or cost by applying the cost effectiveness approach, the ratio of price and quality, and the important to know and to stress it out that award criteria must be described and evaluate, must not be discriminatory, must be related to the subject of the procurement, and must allow for effective competitions. How they can submit the bids electronically on this public procurement website. One bidder, one bid. Within the deadline for submission, they can amend their bid on the same manner as they submitted the initial bid. Also, the group of bidders can submit the joint bid, and the bidder who has submitted a bid independently may not participate in a joint bid or as a subcontractor at the same time. Also, when the bid is electronic bid is received, they also, the bidder will receive the confirmation about that, and the bid shall be opened immediately after the deadline for submission. Usually it is the same, is in the same day, and the opening of bid is public. After that, when they open the bids, the review, expert evaluation, and ranking of bids is performed based on conditions and requirements from the procurement documents, and the report of the public procurement procedure is prepared. So conditions for awarding need to be fulfilled. All conditions need to be fulfilled, and in that case, it's not everything fulfilled, they can reject the bid. not waste any more time on this. And upon the evaluation of bids, the public procurement, they will prepare a commission. They will prepare a report, and the contract authority may award the contract to the bidder who has offered the price higher than the estimate value of the public procurement, and decision of awarding the contract needs to be finished within 30 days from the expiration of the deadline. And also after that, the contract authority will contract within the 10 days after the time limit for filling a request for the protection rights has expired. And after that, in that period, we will conclude the contract, but within, if someone thinks that it's necessary to protect bidders' right, they also can request for protection of right can be submitted through the public procurement procedures. And here we have some days. Is depend of the time limits depend of if they want to request the protection of bidders' right during when the tender was published, or after the decision who won the process. About this request, we have a public level commission who will need to make a decision within 30 days. So that was everything about the procedures, and I just want to mention what will be our needs based on all this presentation, and that is that we will need really big support to prepare all technical documentations I have mentioned, developing studies and also technical documentation for tendering, and also engineers to monitoring the contract implementation relating to infrastructural projects, mostly wastewater treatment plants and recycling centers. Also, when issuing IPPC permits, also new technologies from plants is something what is important for Serbia to have. And of course, because we will change so many boilers, we have a situation that we want to increase demand for modern renewable energy sources for this purpose. So thank you very much for your attention, and sorry if I take too much of your time.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Dokic. Thank you for this really rich presentation full of very useful information, especially regarding the tendering procedures. And now we will have our next presenter, Mr. Miodrag Gluščević from the Standing Conference of Cities and Municipalities. Mr. Gluščević.
Good afternoon. Let me just put the presentation on. Okay, so you can see my presentation, right? And you can hear me well.
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, let me greet you on behalf of the Standing Conference of Towns and Municipalities, Your Excellency, dear colleagues from the Ministry of Environment, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be shortly presenting the jurisdiction, the capacities and the needs of the local self-governments in Serbia in regard to the environmental sector. Let me just briefly comment or reflect on what the previous speakers already have mentioned. I think that it is really good news, it's excellent news that which we received today about the opening of the cluster 4, especially the chapter 27. the environment and climate, in which the preparation of negotiation position, we as an association representing local authorities in Serbia participated upon the call from the Ministry of Environment. Having said it, I think what I'm going to present to you is becoming even more relevant and important, since at least 60 to 70% of all environmental legislation is actually being implemented at the local level and by the local authorities. Just a brief overview of system of local government in Serbia. So we have just one tier government system, meaning that between the central government and the local governments there is no mid-level, except in the case of autonomous province of Vojvodina. And we have this kind of monotypical local government system, meaning that the biggest city in Serbia, which is Belgrade, with 1.7 million people, and the smallest municipality with about 1,000 inhabitants, have basically all the same competencies, except that Belgrade has, according to the city law on the capital, have some more jurisdiction, but in general, all local governments have to perform the same and all tasks prescribed by the law, regardless of their size or their capacities. The important message for you would be that the waste management and urban water management, but also a number of other environmental services that were presented by Mrs. Dokic before me, actually are performed by and are original task of local self-governments. This actually puts the local government in the center of, I would say, this chapter, and in center of upcoming investments. And we have heard that the investment cycle in the waste management is actually going to be a really big one. And from my experience, I can tell you that we are already experiencing the inflow of funds to the environmental sector. There are big programs being implemented as we have heard, in the wastewater sector, in the waste management sector, but also in other sectors like green transport, air quality, climate change. So this is all starting to happen, and with the announced opening of the chapter and announced of the Green Deal and some other financial instruments that are becoming available for Serbian municipalities, they would need to they will need to be prepared to actually facilitate and absorb this kind of investments. I will skip some of the slides and actually try to give you the most important aspects and information regarding the local governments, and I would actually be much more happier if I could answer to some of direct questions that could be coming from your side. So basically, these are some figures that we have already seen that the expected needs for the investment in environmental sector, excluding the big combustion plants. This is the figure that we have already heard about. Okay. What we have seen up till now, that actually the spendings from the national local budgets are actually significantly less compared to the EU countries. So just 0.7 of GDP is being invested in the environmental sector in Serbia, whereas the European countries in average spend 2% of GDP for the environment, and this is something that needs to be changed in the future. And we have already started to see this change with the also investment coming from the state budget to the municipalities for the improvement of the quality of air and for the energy efficiency measures at the local level, and for the introduction of the renewable energy sources. This is something that I have already mentioned, that the local governments actually implement the majority of the environmental key. They have the jurisdiction in the waste management, water provision, wastewater treatment, air quality monitoring, noise protection, environmental impact assessment and strategical impact assessment, nature protection, climate mitigation, adaptation, risk, disaster management, and they also provide other communal services, in field of urban mobility, or the provision of the street lighting, or greenery, etc. Other areas that do not directly fall under the environmental key, and which are becoming more and more important for the local authorities, and which they will for sure be getting engaged in, are, for example, circular economy, energy efficiency, and renewable energy sources utilization. To be able to perform the tasks or jurisdiction given by the law, local governments actually organize or establish public utility companies that provide these kind of services, but they also can delegate some of the tasks to the private companies in form of public-private partnerships, or they just can delegate some of the tasks to the private operators. And we have seen some of those arrangements, especially in the waste management field. We have 4 regions where the public operators actually provide service is related to the waste collection and disposal, and the biggest public, the biggest PPP that we have seen so far is actually the one for the Vinča landfill in Belgrade, where consortium of companies from France and Japan actually got this job, and they are now operating the what was at one point one of the biggest environmental black points of Europe. Just a second. Important aspect also for the for what I was mentioning before is that local governments can actually engage in intermunicipal cooperation in order to more efficiently perform their tasks. So what we have seen so far is intermunicipal cooperations in the field of waste management, but more and more needs are becoming for this kind of cooperation in the waste water sector. And I will give you just one example. City of Kruševac with 2 small municipalities, Brus and Blace, in the central Serbia. Actually, they have signed this arrangement, the memorandum understanding regarding the intermunicipal cooperation, since the Kruševac has the capacity to operate the two wastewater facilities that are being constructed in those two small municipalities. So why I'm presenting you all this, because my presentation is not okay. I'll just skip to the needs. What we have seen so far, the jurisdiction that municipalities have in the environmental field and their capacities in terms of human capacities and technical capacities actually do not match. There is big discrepancy in those terms, and in order to be able to facilitate what the processes that we have mentioned so far, the local governments will need a significant amount of support to build their capacities to be able to, prepare, tender, implement, and monitor big infrastructure investments in the environmental sector. We, as the Association of Local Governments, performed in past few years several surveys proving that the capacities at the local level are not sufficient, and that the support programs for the local authorities in this respect needs to be thought of before these big investments. And now I'm coming to the point where actually, from my point of view, I could see the area for Belgian, partners to get into the Serbian market. What we have seen so far is that the number of international consultancies, engineering companies actually are working in Serbia. They're getting into the partnership with the local companies also, and applying to the tenders of different kinds, for tenders for the preparation of technical documentation, which are usually launched by the municipalities, but also for the construction works, and maybe what is the most important for the operation of the facilities once they are being built. So I would stop here. I think that you have received a lot of information. That based on this information, we could, discuss additional points that may be of your interest, and I would be more than happy then to facilitate any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Glušević, for this very interesting overview of needs, capacities, and opportunities from the local point of view, if I can say it like that. So we heard an overview of the environmental sector in Serbia from, let's say, macro point of view by the ministry, and from the point of view of the local authorities. And now our final speaker for today is Mr. Sasha Velkovic, Director of Poliaxis Serbia, that will share his testimony on doing business in the environmental sector in Serbia. So, Mr. Velkovic, please.
Now I'm mute. Thank you very much. Hello to everybody. Greetings to His Excellency, embassy employees, government officials, and also participants. And thank you for this opportunity to discuss a little bit from our point of view and our side of view. I'm working for a company named Poliaxis, which is based in Brussels, and we are a really big company with more than 14,000 employees. all around the world. And of course, we have one company in Serbia. I will just skip the details. You can check it on internet, who we are and what we do. I will just go to the core discussion regarding Serbia and our activities. We are active in environmental sector in Serbia in the last 3-4 years. Especially, we are following the projects which are connected with the wastewater treatment plants in Serbia, because part of our production and products are connected with these projects. And we have really positive experience regarding these things and these works in Serbia. And you will see, I will just skip immediately to the most important slides, because presentation is not so big. We choose Serbia as a base point for the regional development of our company, because Serbia actually is the biggest market in this area, considering non-EU countries like Montenegro, Bosnia, Northern Macedonia, and Serbia. So regional cooperation is really well developed. And if you establish a base company in Serbia, you can easily spread your activities and products and services to this region and these countries which I just mentioned. So also government support and also government regulations are helping new established companies, especially international companies, to be active in this market. So overall, I can just confirm what the government official says regarding the possibilities and future development of this region. And I can also confirm that if you start your business in Serbia and also cover the surrounding countries, it will be much easier for you to establish good company in this region. I will not mention again what everybody says already. You have all the figures already, you have all the data. I will just go directly to show you which kind of companies are already active here. So in Serbia, you already have many companies, international companies active, especially in the field of environmental and also wastewater treatment plants construction. So you can see on the screen, you have Veolia, you have Metito, you have China Machinery Engineering, Dutch companies, or German, and also we have Belgian company Waterloo, which was active in the wastewater treatment plant Kruševac. I can remember, I think it's Kruševac. So you already have different international companies active in this field in Serbia. They are waiting this big project, which Serbia already started to implement regarding wastewater treatment plants and also in environmental sector in generally. So you also have designing companies which is already active in Serbia, and they have all information regarding the new and projects that are already preparing to be active in the next 3 to 5 years. So I think it's really good for Belgian companies to be active, to include their activities in this region, especially in Serbia, because Serbia really needs experienced companies to be active in this field and to manage to get all the projects done on time with quality. I will just immediately slip to conclusion that really, when you see the figures, that we need 359 wastewater filtering facilities and 10,000 kilometers of additional sewage in the next 20 years. And okay, this is 5.6 billion. This is some estimation regarding the government officials. Some months ago, this will probably go higher. But there is really enough space for everybody to be included. And really, I want to invite all participants to analyze the market, to check the data which government officials just presented us, also to check legislation. Regarding legislation, it is already very well implemented on the base of European Union legislations. So you will not have any difficulties to implement any of your activities, any products in Serbia, also services and so on. So basically, everything is prepared that you come here and start your business. It's only depending on you to see if this is possible or not, but definitely you have infrastructure, you have government backup, you have really good business communities developed in Serbia. So you will have all necessary information what you need to be successful in Serbia. And regarding us in general, we are, as a Belgian company, I can offer our support if you need any information, if you need whatever you need regarding the Serbian market. I will be happy to help you. You can reach us through the embassy or you can reach us directly. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I will just leave the floor for the question and answers so we can be, let's say, more discussing about the things what you want to know. And after that, if you have anything to add, you can just reach us and contact us. This is it. I think I was short, and we can go directly now to questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Velkovic. It's always very useful to have the experience of a company that is already in the field, if I can say it like that. So now we have time for questions. I will just ask my colleagues in Brussels to see if we already have maybe some questions via the chat or Natalie, Thomas, do we have any questions already from our participants?
Oh, we are just looking at it right now. Somebody is asking if we can have presentations from the speakers after the webinar. I guess that is a possibility. Can you confirm, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Just one more minute. I have a very long question. Can you just bear with me while I read it? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I start reading the question. Is the market in Serbia ready, for example, mobility sector, to provide trucks, cars, forklifts, others with green hydrogen on-site, on-demand production units? Systems like Vini Green Energy Group is producing with our IPS solar hybrid ultra-H heat recuperation with battery storage, custom-made, project-made units with unlimited production of green energy and green hydrogen units in cascade flute roofs, stackable tower units that produce all the needs of the project in one overall system, all in one solution, question mark. I haven't, it's not finished. Info@vinigreen.com, how to come on the market partner agent, question mark. Is the market in Serbia ready, for example, oh no, that's the same question twice. Sorry, that's it. Can anyone answer?
Unless one of our presenters would like to answer, perhaps the easiest would be if a participant can send us an email, and then we will get into it and give an answer, because it's rather big, detailed questions. Perhaps it's easier if they contact us directly.
Yes, please. Can they send the question? Because if I understood well, that is something related with hydrogen. And to tell you, Ministry of Environmental Protection do not have this kind of information, because Ministry of Energy is in charge of. So in order to provide the answer, it's much better to send us, and we will ask somebody from Ministry of Mining and Energy to answer it.
And also to understand the question fully. I mean, it's really comprehensive question, so
yes,
we need to understand it also. It's better to send it in.
So we invite the participant to contact our office, and then we will contact the ministry and the Standing Conference of Cities and Municipalities and try to provide all the answers.
Okay. Apparently, I don't see any more questions, so if maybe wait a few more seconds, just in case. Mariana, I don't see more questions coming, so maybe it's a good time to just
So if there are no more questions, I guess the presentations were really detailed with a lot of information, and then the company simply needs some time to digest all this information and to form the questions. So we have come to the end of our webinar. I would like to thank again to all the speakers and participants for being with us today. Also, I would like to thank the speakers for helping us understand the current situation in the environmental sector in Serbia better, as well as opportunities and needs that exist for Belgian companies. We remain, of course, at your disposal here at the hub.brussels office in Belgrade, together with the embassy. We are always at your disposal for different kinds of information. Have a great day. I would like to use this opportunity also to already wish you happy end of the year holidays and very happy 2022. I hope the situation will allow us to meet in person and not to have only webinars, and also to participating Belgian companies. We really sincerely hope that we will welcome you here in Belgrade next year. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.